All right, if someone could quickly come off mute and just let me know if you're able to see my screen, you should be looking at a blue slide that says monitoring of FY21 grants.
You can see it.
I could see it.
Thank you. All right, so thank you again for spending your morning with us. We're going to go through today the expectations and timelines for monitoring of FY21 grants. So specifically, we're going to go through high level the timeline that we're looking at. I'm going to share some important specific dates and deadlines that you should keep on your radar, talk through a little bit of the logistics, and then also how you can prepare for successful monitoring. And again, the majority of today's time will be open for Q&A for any questions that you might have. So here's the high level timeline. So currently we're in May. You should have received at this point your monitoring notification and an email informing you that your expenditure sample has been uploaded. I hope everyone's okay. If you haven't received this, please let us know as soon as possible so we can make sure that we get that information to you so that you have it. So through May and June will be evidence collection and getting all the documents uploaded to Box. In July and August is when we'll be reaching out. If you need to do an interview, that would be when we would schedule it. And then if there's any additional evidence that we need, that's also the time in which we'll be reaching out and asking for that. And then kind of moving into the fall, September and October is when you'll receive your reports. So to give some more specific dates, so between Friday and yesterday, you should have received 2 emails. One is the monitoring notification, which was a PDF letter attached to the email. And the second was an email yesterday that you should have received from your monitoring lead informing you that your expenditure sample has been uploaded to Box. Again, if you haven't received these, please let me know right away so we can make sure to get that information to you as quickly as possible. Attached to that email also was a document called the Indicators and Evidence List. I'm going to pull that up right now as an example to just quickly walk through that. So the list that was attached to your email would have been the one relevant to your LEA. The one we're looking at right now is called the comprehensive list, which is if you were identified as high risk. But the format and setup of each of these documents is the same. So if you look here, there's a table of contents that basically tells you the different sections of the list. Everyone, the general fiscal monitoring portion is relevant to everyone. And then there's a grant-specific fiscal monitoring portion, which would only be relevant if that particular grant has been selected for your LEA. And you'll know what grants have been selected based on the notifications you received yesterday and Friday. In each of these sections, it breaks down into the indicator that you'll be monitored against, as well as the evidence that you need to provide in relation to that indicator. This is a different format than we've used in past years, but none of the actual content is different. All the indicators are the exact same fiscal indicators we've been using, and the evidence we're asking for is the same type of evidence we've been requesting in prior years as well. So we just reformatted it to make it hopefully a little bit easier to read and more user-friendly, but the contents of the fiscal monitoring have not changed basically at all whatsoever. So I don't want y'all to open this and be like, oh my God, this looks totally new. Are we doing something, type of monitoring we haven't done before? The answer is no. This is the same fiscal monitoring we've been doing for years, just a new, fresh look. Going back to the dates, you have until June 30th to upload everything into Box. Your LEA should also already have access to Box. If you don't, again, please let us know as soon as possible so we can get that sorted. If you do need to be interviewed, we're going to be setting that up sometime between July 1st and July 22nd. Your monitoring lead will reach out to you to schedule that for a time that works for your team. And then kind of at the end of that time period on July 22nd, we'll be emailing out if there's an additional evidence or documentation request that we have. You'll hear back from us by that time. And then the deadline to provide anything additional will be August 5th. At that time, we'll be having also a follow-up webinar later in the summer to kind of walk through the steps and what you can expect around reporting. But this is sort of what we're looking at in terms of this summer and sort of the most immediate dates and deadlines in relation to actually providing evidence and working through the monitoring piece. So preparing for successful monitoring, this is logistics. So one, please make sure you provide the correct point of contact to your OSSE monitoring lead. So that's the email that you got yesterday. That's your monitoring lead. If you didn't get it, or again, please let us know. But we just want to make sure that we really are in touch with the right person at your organization so that the information is going to the right place. The second is access to Box. I think most folks should already have this from prior years, so it shouldn't necessarily be an issue, but double checking that is always helpful. I'm just going to log into Box quickly, so for those of you who might be new to the system, you can see what it looks like. So when you get to Box, this is the first screen. You would click not part of the DC government. I'm going to click the other one so that I can log in. It'll take you to a login screen. Yours most likely will look a little bit different than mine. And then once you get logged in, you'll see a screen like this. Go into OSSE files, LEA. I think for on my end, I have all the LEAs. For you, you would just have access to your own specific organization. I'm gonna click on one. So you'll see within each of your folders, there's actually two folders, one that's LEA to OSSE and the other one that's OSSE to the LEA. And this is just to kind of help direct file traffic. So anything you're providing to us should be LEA to OSSE to us. Anything we are sending to you, so for example, your fiscal sample would be OSSE to the LEA. So just make sure you're taking note of that so you know that you're putting places in the right folder and also looking for files in the right place. All right, and the very last thing, which is seems like a very minute detail, but would be actually super extra helpful, is if you could follow the following naming convention for the files that you're uploading to Box to provide to us. So using the indicator number and then the name of the file. So if we go back to the this indicator and evidence list, every indicator has a number associated with it. If you can make sure to include that in the file name at the beginning, that way we'll know which files align to which indicators. There might be some files that align to more than one indicator, and in that circumstance, we would just ask that you just have multiple copies of that file and the different indicator numbers that it aligns to, so that we can make that match more easily, and that will really cut down on the questions that we have just trying to figure out, like, wait, this file, is it for this one or that one or that one, and will just help the process move a lot smoother. In terms of the actual contents of the monitoring, so this is all sort of logistics and how to do what. These are the sections of fiscal indicators that apply to everyone. We've kept this very, focused on fiscal monitoring because that is our focus for this year, given the volume of ESSER funds. But these are the 5 main categories of things we'll be looking for. And generally speaking, like, this is like what we're trying to ascertain. So for financial management, right, like, are the grant funds properly accounted for? Are there the right policies in place to ensure for the proper accounting? Are the grant funds tracked separately, right? Just sort of is the overall financial management structure organized and in place? For personnel services, this is time and effort. So the staff that's funded through that grant, are they spending 100% of their time, 50% of their time, whatever is written into the application, on those grant activities, and are the proper processes and controls in place to make sure the right people are getting paid the right amounts. Equipment, technology, and property management. So a lot of folks, very reasonably so, have purchased a great deal of laptops on their ESSER funds, which again makes a lot of sense. So this will be mostly focused on that and making sure that you have an inventory tracking process in place, that you know where your things are, that they're being maintained, and that obviously laptops can be dropped and things can happen such that they're not usable anymore. So in that circumstance, are they, being disposed of properly? Procurement standards, again, right, there's a whole host of procurement rules in relation to using federal grant funds. Are the right processes, policies, controls in place to make sure that those standards are being followed? And then very lastly, audit and records retention. The audit is just, did y'all get your annual audit, which I'm pretty sure everyone did, so I'm pretty sure that's fine. And then records retention, for the documents we ask for, have y'all retained your documents as you should. So all pretty straightforward, but just wanted to give that high level overview to give a sense of what kind of questions will we be asking and what are we really looking for when we're reviewing those documents and that evidence. So I'm going to stop here from Q&A. I'm going to unshare my screen so that I can see the chat in case any questions have come in through there. Because of the number of people on the call, I would ask if you have questions just to throw them in the chat instead of coming off mute to make sure we can all hear and see all the questions.
Hey, Linda, this is Bonnie. I've been answering some of the questions, especially specifically about monitoring letters, but you can look through them. But I've been trying to monitor the chat while you've been talking.
Thank you. Yeah, that's helpful. I have a question. Laptops are considered supplies, so they would not be counted as assets. Laptops are supplies when you fill out the application, but they are still part of the equipment, technology, and asset management portion of monitoring. Should LEAs have individual box accounts for different users, or should the LEAs share access with one main account? The LEA should share, let me follow up on that. My instinct is to say that you should share with one main account so that everyone has, is accessing the same folder and uploading to the same place. But Cynthia, I'll follow up with you on that one. Oh, I'm scrolling up through the chat to make sure I'm not missing anything. So who are the LEA contacts and who received these? So we're using eSchools Plus for our communications. So the monitoring notifications all went out to whoever was listed as the head of school / LEA leader and the LEA finance / grants manager. Kim, I know that some of the EdOps folks are listed as the LEA finance grants manager in eSchools Plus. So if that's the case, then they should have received.
Linda, just a quick question, sorry, only because I know this, we affect so many schools on here, or part of this. I think though, is this the one where we had to have a school email address? Because we don't actually have access to those emails if that's the case. Because it's just like,
this just went out through like regular Microsoft Outlook email.
I mean, it's the school email address that's the LEA grants manager. Is this the one where we had to change all of our emails to be like kim@idreampcs.org?
No. So so I want to differentiate between reporting and monitoring.
Okay.
Happening concurrently. For monitoring, the system we are using is Box, which is the same system we've used in the past to transfer files.
Right. And so if we have it, right, but I think, okay, maybe we could talk offline about it, but I think there's a lot of schools that were not on the emails, at least I know for both the schools I work with, I wasn't on the emails, they got forwarded to me.
Okay.
And I just want to make sure it's like whatever's easiest for the schools and for you all, that we can just. So
in the emails, we've asked whoever was on that email to let us know who the right points of contact are going forward so that we can make sure we are reaching the right person. So I would say making sure to reach out to that monitoring lead so that they know who to contact going forward.
Yeah, we put that on our radar. We just want to make sure it's us reaching out to 40 different people, hoping that all of them do. Yeah, that's fine. That sounds good. We're trying to we're doing our best to get access.
Why don't you and I set up some time separately and we can talk through some logistics. Great. That would make sense for you.
Thank you.
Yep. All right. Hold on. I'm just copying. So Marjorie, I'm noting that you said you haven't received the communication, so I'm just taking note of that. Give me 1 second to write it down. And
Linda, I'm
also-
noting them as well.
Oh, are you?
Everyone that's coming
Thank
through.
you. Thank you. Emily, just confirming that schools that are low or medium risk will not have interviews. That is correct. So only if you've received something that says high risk would you have an interview. If you're low or medium risk, there is no interview.
Also, just generally speaking for eSchools Plus, if you're not listed as the LEA Grants Finance Manager, whoever is your data manager with OSSE can go into eSchools Plus and give you the assignment that will work going forward so that you do receive all of our formal notices like this.
Yeah, and if you don't know who that is, you can also email us and we can tell you who your LEA data manager is who will be able to do that. There's a question, if a piece of evidence is applicable to more than one indicator, should it be saved as a separate file labeled for each indicator, or should it be saved once with each indicator number in the file name? It should be saved as a separate file labeled for each indicator. So you may be saving something a couple of different times, but just to help keep everything organized, that would be very helpful. Can you elaborate why we go through this process when we already have a financial statement and UGG audit completed by a national CPA firm? So as the state education agency, we are obligated to do monitoring on an annual basis. This is something we have to do. It's required by the Department of Education, and we have to monitor. And so that's why we have to go through this process. Other questions? All right. If not, thank you so much for your time this morning. If you have any other questions, you can feel free to reach out to me or your monitoring lead, and we will be happy to respond. And if you have any specific questions about what you need to provide, timelines, all of that, we are happy to help support you. So please let us know if there's anything we can help answer. And with that, thank you all very much. And
Linda.
Oh, wait.
There's
Sorry,
a couple.
seeing questions. Okay, sorry, just kidding. More questions coming in. Okay. Hold on, give me, all right. Most of the documents requested are already in EGMS. Do we need to resubmit? That's something you can work out with your monitoring lead. If they're already in EGMS, you can direct that your monitoring lead that way. So that's something you should work out individually with the person who will be collecting and reviewing your documents. How do we find out who is our monitoring lead? So the monitoring lead was copied on the notification that went out on Friday, and then you should have also received the email from them on Monday. So that person is your monitoring lead. If you, again, didn't receive those emails, we have taken note of everyone who has said that in the chat, and we'll make sure that you do receive those notifications and also information around who your monitoring lead is. Can you talk more about the asset tagging and what is required for laptops that are considered supplies? So for assets/laptops, it's just making sure that there's a system in place to actually track the inventory. So similar to if the school has a library with books, some sort of, I mean, it doesn't have to be a system like this. I'm just giving an example, but one potential system could be something like I don't know, barcodes on the laptops that get scanned so that there's a comprehensive list of each laptop. And then, as students I'm assuming students are probably not returning or checking them out throughout the year, but is there a process at the end of the year where you actually go through all your inventory and check which laptops are still viable and usable and which ones need to be disposed of or which ones need repairs? Just a system to make sure that the inventory is being tracked and maintained. Kim, no, you don't need to do the same with a textbook. So textbooks are considered fully consumables, but laptops are considered highly mobile, high value supplies, and that's why they still fall under that particular section of the monitoring. Just giving another second for questions to come through. All right, if there's nothing else, thank you again. And this webinar, as well as the slides, again, will be posted to the website. So you can reference it at any time going forward. Thanks y'all very much and have a great morning.